Welcome to Podcast on TechNation. This is a series of podcasts focused specifically on the biomedical and HTM industry. Episodes will be added monthly. Listening to each episode is eligible for 1 CE credit from the ACI. At the conclusion of this episode, you'll be able to access a link that will take you to a quick survey. You will be able to download your certificate once you submit the survey. Before we begin today's podcast, I'd like to invite you to save the date for our fall MD Expo. We will be in Orlando, Florida from October the 29th to the 31st. Please visit mdexposhow.com for event details and registration information. Podcast on TechNation would like to thank our sponsor, Multi-Medical Systems. When you're in the business of protecting the health of patients, you don't have time for malfunctioning medical equipment or dull surgical instruments. You need a reliable partner that can provide expert repair and planned maintenance to ensure you have patient-ready equipment that meets or exceeds OEM guidelines and regulatory requirements. For more information, visit multimedicalsystems.com. In this episode, we are joined by Tim Cordes and Shane Cooper from the University of Kansas Health System, and they will be discussing creating the new Biomed pipeline.
Hello and welcome back to HTM Insider. My name is Sherelle. I'm the host of HTM Insider, provided to you by Multi-Medical Systems. Today, I'm super excited to get back into 2023, and I have some very special guests on today. They're at the University of Kansas Health System, and we're going to be talking about that HTM pipeline, that evergreen thought, idea, motion that we're all in is trying to recruit biomeds. So today I want to introduce you and let them introduce themselves. First, let's start with Tim. Tim, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Sherelle, again, thank you for doing this. I think this is a great opportunity for us in the field to be heard, and some great information comes out of these. So my name's Tim Cordes. I've been a BMET since the mid 80s, and recently retired and then came back. So
I was gonna say, it looks like you're working now.
I had kind of a special opportunity, and Shane was kind enough to go through all the hoops to bring me back in for a little bit. So yeah, we're working that out. But for the most part, I've worked mostly in hospital environments, 2 different hospitals and 1 ISO.
Very good. And Shane, what about you? Well, first of all, let's talk. You must be a Chiefs fan.
I am.
Congratulations congratulations on the Super Bowl win.
Yeah, I speak for the whole Chiefs kingdom there. So
very cool. Very
cool. My name is Shane Cooper. I've been a biomed for roughly 14 years, coming up on 14 years now. I was a general biomed, and I had an opportunity to walk over into the perioperative realm, and I've been here ever since. And I currently am the perioperative clinical engineering manager, and I'm new, very green to that, and that's why I wanted to bring Tim on board as well, so you guys can get the perspective of the past, present, and future, and kind of what he's been doing in the field, and how I want to carry on the torch.
Yeah, I like that. Our attrition rate in the HTM industry coming to the end of 2023 is kind of bleak, right?
Yeah.
And I understand that, Tim, you may have been instrumental in providing some type of legwork in that pipeline that we talk about, bringing in the interest and the energy into the BMET life, which is so unknown to so many people. So I want to start there, Tim, is how have you successfully brought together a pipeline?
Well, I think success is yet to be measured, but it has a good start. I think I really have to give credit to a lot of people that came before me, looking at the work that Amy's done, the work that TechNation and that you've done in helping give us out in the field ideas of how to go about this. Um, and I don't know, I have a friend that always said, and I treasured this saying of let's copy off the smart kid, right? So um, I've been real fortunate to know a lot of folks here in the area, HTM directors, technicians. And so as we kind of got together, um, we could see what was happening. It became sort of a game of musical chairs, as who's left with the vacancy. And we watched that actually happen within several hospitals here in town. And as we were getting together and talking about that, we thought this is just awful. This is awful for everybody. And we needed to have a collective effort in order to put a stop to this or not let this happen again, because it really does nobody any good. With that, um, we started seeing information, or I started seeing information about, trying to partner up with community colleges. And of course, with the closing a lot of the biomed schools, we were scrambling to find one that was relatively close to Kansas City. So we found one in mid-Missouri. In a nutshell, we sat down with both of those organizations, the community college, Johnson County Community College, and State Tech College of Missouri. And with some of these HTM directors, we started exploring how could we make this work. And so we kind of came up with an outline where they could use the online programs from State Tech, coupled with the electronics technology program in existence, and at least have a path. And so at that point, then it's let's get it out there. I think one of the key things to it was you have to get on these advisory boards. You have to have some input to these things. And then on the flip side, I think that gives the organizations, the academic organizations, um, it shows that you're committed, right? If you're going to take the time to be involved, then we'll take the time to help promote this. So that's kind of where it started.
So what is your role there? If you're an advisor, is bringing potential biomeds into your hospital key to that, to let them see what they're going to do? Or how are you getting them to enroll in the program? That's kind of a twofold, but I
Yeah,
think
so
that's part of the challenge, right?
it most certainly is. What we started with was attending some of the career fairs that the colleges typically have. One of the things that we're learning as we go with this is a lot of times at the career fairs, those kids are looking for jobs, right? They've almost finished their educational training. And so it quickly became clear to us that we need to get in at the first years, and in fact, get down to the high school level, really, because so many kids are making these decisions so early in life. You got to get it in front of them when they are in that decision making process.
So, Shane, I know it's, with credentialing in this industry, I know there's other ways that we have barriers that maybe are not in the biomed department, but maybe with HR. Have you figured out a way to deal with that? And what have been your experiences?
So as far as barriers go, specific to HR, what we've encountered is, not only have we stumbled upon this career field, but HR doesn't really know how to recruit for it either. And so you have to be very specific in your request, and it has to be a collaborative effort. You have to be on the same wavelength, and that goes for really your customizing your talent engagement, and modernizing that internet traffic. So, including your search queries, be specific in your searchable words. Don't be afraid to, if you can, if you have the backing and support from your HR, reach out to a sourcing agency that can help you, because that's their forte. And really just make sure you have targeted sourcing to ensure the platforms that you post on are fruitful. And they have all sorts of technology that can assist with that. So, in that we were able to offer relocation bonuses. So we started looking at not only locally, but, regional talent, national, and even international talent. Um, but other than that, we went in as far as publishing our pay scales to start, increasing that foot traffic through there. And then also don't be afraid to source the military to civilian transition agencies as well. There's great talent there.
I agree. I agree. Sometimes I feel like we should be TikTok experts and do
Yeah,
snippets in TikTok to reach the younger generation, right?
definitely.
Maybe that's HR needs to really look into that social aspect.
Yep,
And we do that a lot at MMS, right? Because we understand that that is really the platform that everyone's looking for their
that's the
news, for their
future.
information, for their jobs,
Yep.
right?
Yeah. And what we've also done to segue in that is we've started making videos in, simple troubleshooting techniques or, issues that we stumble upon. We will post videos, and just so students and the younger generations have some insight as to what our career field is all about.
I agree 100%. I really think you need to have Tim do a TikTok.
That I would pay to see.
That may be a stretch, but you never know.
I think it'd be great, Tim.
Yeah,
Well, that's a great insight and a great reminder, Shane, to our audience here is really collaborating with HR on the efforts for recruitment of biomeds and interest in the career field. I like it.
Yeah.
there's one other aspect I think that Shane experienced. Well, we both experienced, but Shane bore the brunt of this was, not having a part-time position in the job description already set up, and it had gone through HR and gone all that. We probably experienced a couple of months of delay while it went through all of that. And so what I would say to current HTM directors is don't wait. Don't wait till your retiree's gone, right? That could potentially even avoid having to go through all of the typical HR testing and everything else as you come in the door. If you could transition out and into one of those part-time positions versus actually retiring and coming back in. Yeah, and it was a couple of months. So Shane and all of my counterparts are going through, um, a lot of, well, trying to cover, with short people. And that's hard. It's really hard.
Well, Tim, when you're no longer, needed at Kansas there, and Shane, is fully staffed, MMS is a new home for you. We will hire you part-time, contract jobs. Just give me a call.
I will certainly keep that in mind.
And Shane, how did you get into the industry? How did you find what healthcare technology management is all about?
I fell into it. Originally, I thought I was going into manufacturing, and a position became available. I said, "What's that?" And I never turned back. So I love it.
Right.
It's a very rewarding career field, and so I just hope to spread the word. But I think that's a very similar case to many technicians out there. They stumbled across it. No one knew about this industry. So that's partly what we're trying to do, is, as Tim was saying, get out in front of these kids early, before that decision has already been made.
Now, how many biomeds do you guys have in your shop currently across the enterprise?
So we're a unique group in that we are strictly perioperative services. So we report to
Okay.
perioperative services. So we're essentially OR biomeds, and we serve in that purpose. But with our group, it's roughly 5. So I was able to convince and coerce Tim back out of retirement. So he graciously accepted, and he's helped us fill that void and serve as a stopgap until we can get everyone trained up and where we need to be.
That's awesome. And are
Yeah.
you working full-time, Tim?
No, just part-time. I was fortunate enough that Shane let me kind of dictate where and when that I'm working. And it, well, fortunately, it kind of worked out for him. So it was a win-win for both of us. So yeah.
That's awesome. And I really think that is a line of, it's a resource to bring people back into the industry just because of the attrition rate. And we're losing such great talent.
Yeah.
When people like Tim retired. So
Yeah.
Tim, I imagine you're walking around with the shirt on, the QR code that says, ask me what a BMed is.
You know, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah, I'm
Uh,
thinking so.
One of the things that we did, we were fortunate a year ago or so to have one of the HTM mixers here in Kansas City. And so one of the things that we had an idea to do was let's invite some of the kids to this, right? Let's bring them in and let them walk through with the vendors, and it's a great chance to learn about equipment, the type of, you know, that you work on, the stuff that you use, a chance to talk to BMETs. Um, and so that was kind of fun, you know, because the kids had a blast, right, running through the vendor area, of course, getting all the swag and that kind of thing. But they were really good about attending classes. You could tell they were paying attention. Um, and so, have we seen anything come out of that yet? Not yet, but I think it's one of those, you know, you just keep fishing, right, and hope to
Right.
get that bite. So,
I completely understand. I have a young biomed daughter myself who's a product of COVID, and
yeah,
college just wasn't the answer for her, and she's thriving in the industry now a year and a half later.
That's
yeah.
great.
Yeah. Um, so what do you think that the gap is going to be from the attrition to bringing on, let's say, high school students? How are we going to fill that gap that's going to, I think, going to be a 2 to 3 year period of even more of a decline in the resources we have as being BMEDs?
I'll take that one, and really I'll walk it back into, you have to look in a mirror, you have to look at your own program. And you know, we're innately biomeds, we're problem solvers, and we have a problem, so how do we fix it? So we go back to the drawing board, and one of the first things we did was look at our career ladder and restructuring our program and the positions within it. And in doing so, that allowed us some flexibility to allow for more entry-level candidates to come in the door. You know, allowing them to get a certificate and work their way up into a certification if desired, and you know, changing the minimum years required also. So, but we've also established the strategic growth plan as well. And part of that is, you know, getting those PRN positions created, you know, i.e. what Tim is able to do for us. That way we can concentrate on training our candidates and, you know, entry level folk that we can get trained up to PCE 2s, 3s. So
I
um,
like that. So let me
yeah,
ask you this, do you have an apprenticeship program that paid
yeah,
or not paid?
we just created an internship, and that was, you know, really a team effort in getting that established. So we were able to get that created, and as Tim was saying, we were able to you know, interface with the community and schools, and really start that engagement there.
And that's great. So what is your expectation to retain that employee through that commitment of that internship? Because I feel that there's a gap there that we're not addressing in the industry, that we're giving internships, apprenticeships, but then they're moving on to other organizations. As you know, you're competing with every, ISO, manufacturers. Um, there's a lot of different draws to their opportunities. Have you addressed that at all, or any ideas around that?
Our program specifically just is a summer internship. And as we were
Okay.
talking earlier, we want to get out in front of them early on in that first year, before that decision has been made. And really, it's just to bring awareness to our field. And if at the end of the internship, at the end of their program, and they graduate, they choose to go to an ISO or a different healthcare facility, that's fine. It's not necessarily a bad thing, because it closes those doors or opens doors for more opportunities later on down the road.
Does your internship require that they attended or enrolled in a BMET program, a school?
Not necessarily a BMET specific program, electronics technology, engineering, but yeah, definitely BMET. So we want to paint this with a broad brush to not necessarily pigeonhole ourselves.
I like that. I like that. Tim, how do you see that program working? Do you think bringing them in for that internship for the summer is causing that excitement and perhaps an influx if more people modeled it this way?
I think so. For one thing, the program that we set up with the local community college and the biomed program requires an internship. So that's part of the last semester of that class. So it helps meet that need for starters. I think the other thing, and we've heard this from students we talked to at career fairs, also educators, is job shadow opportunities, especially with the high school students. If you want to get them hooked a little bit, give them a day in the life, right? And that seems to help solidify, if they were thinking about it, that helps solidify them to take that next step and enroll in the electronics program. I think the way Shane's approached it is perfect in that you could take it from either source, right? Either bringing a guy up that had some electronics background, gal, or somebody that is already in a program and trying to find a job. I think what he said about not pigeonholing himself is the perfect approach with that, honestly.
So let me ask you this, guys. So with all the restrictions, I mean, we came out of COVID, don't know if we're going to go back into a COVID. And I know as a vendor, sometimes it's even hard for myself who's credentialed and vaccinated. How do you get over that hump, getting high school students, early college students into the hospital, shadowing you or in a program? Do you find any barriers?
We haven't yet, but it's still new. So there's barriers everywhere you look, but we have to just keep pushing forward. So we haven't experienced any of that resistance yet, but that's something that we're definitely willing to work through for the better of the industry.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. I mean, it's something that you think about it, I really think this is something that we could talk to Amy about. I think that job shadowing, coming from even having my own daughter and her at the time her boyfriend, where they were like, "What is a BMed?" And here I've been in the industry, and she comes home from college, and all she knew is it was in demand, and it kind of triggered a light bulb, and I started explaining it. And then she got to talk to some industry people. Now it was COVID; she still couldn't go in a facility, but she jumped into a school. I think that we are missing that field trip opportunity.
Yeah.
I think it's a key to it. And I get that from again talking to counselors and educators that's what kids are telling them. Well, I want to go see it. I want to be part of it. I want to understand it more. We were fortunate at University of Kansas Health System in that we had numerous programs that they have for job shadowing because it's an academic institution. But in order to do it like we wanted to do it, we had to limit it to a 1 day job shadow, which for us, yeah, it'd be great to have them for a week, but in all likelihood, they don't have a week anyway, right? They got classes going on, they've got part-time jobs, that kind of stuff. But in the one that we did this with, or a couple of them, one of them for sure has already become a BMET, or he's well on his way anyway. I think one of the things that triggered that was GE has an internship program, apprenticeship program ready to go, right? He knew right where to apply and how to go. And that's kind of been some of the message that our association has been sending out to the HTM directors in the area is it's paramount to get these programs in place. Job shadow, internships, um, that type of thing.
Do you guys invite students to your HTM association, your local HTM association, for meetings?
So far, we've been kind of focused on the electronic students. So we make the instructors aware when we have meetings and they're welcome to come out. I think one of the problems that we have with that is um, kids are working, right? If they're not in school, they're working. So when are they going to have time? And now, if you got a kid that's already engaged, yeah, you can usually get them to come out. Um, quite honestly, the post COVID, we've had a hard enough time getting BMETs to come out to our meetings, much less students. So,
Right. I know. I always think you've got to bribe them with food.
uh, yes,
It always works.
You know,
Kansas City barbecue does work pretty good for that, but
yeah. I think that for you to give your time back, Tim, that really speaks to the career field. And maybe that'd be a challenge. Maybe you want to put that challenge out there to anyone else who's retired, right? Is to reach out to their local high schools and try to get, wear that shirt. What is a BMET? Come talk to me with the QR code on it. We may have started something on this podcast today, but I think I'm gonna start wearing that shirt around. Yeah, I mean, would you like to put that challenge out to other people that are retired instead of just leaving the industry? Let's give back.
I think it's the only way, right? Well, for one thing, who's got the time, right? I mean, it's amazing when you retire. It just seems like, oh my God, when did I have this time to do this stuff? But the fact of the matter is, um, and I look at it this way: this field gave me a lot. Why should I not give back, right? A lot of what I got was through our local association or in relationships or networking with other BMETs in the area. And why not encourage that? Why not keep that going? So
That's awesome. That's awesome. I might put that out there. Maybe that's something that Danielle, my friend Danielle and Amy might,
yeah,
we might have some encouraging, push behind that movement.
there's it was interesting because in the HTM mixer that we did,
Mhm.
she actually came down and helped me present to those students.
She's
So she
awesome.
Oh, she is great. And so she talked about the HTM in a box.
Mhm.
I talked a little bit more about the local opportunities we have, that type of thing. But I think specifically with her, I think we've seen better support from Amy than we've ever seen, in my opinion, personal opinion. And I credit Danielle with that.
Yep. She's an awesome human. Well, guys, so we're kind of coming to the end of our podcast, and I did root for the Eagles, but had to. It's going to be a son-in-law, right? But besides the Kansas City Chiefs, insight and the parade that you're going to head out to today, I want some words of wisdom from both of you. I mean, you have such vast experience, and we want when these kids are out there Googling what is a BMET or looking into it, that this is a resource that they can click on and listen to someone from your perspective, Shane, and your perspective, Tim. So I want you to take some time and just tell them why they should be involved and how they can get involved and maybe how they can reach you if they're interested, if they're in that Kansas City area and they'd like to know more about the program. Shane, go ahead.
So my words of wisdom are basically from the hiring perspective. When I look across the board of candidates, and my suggestion is just to hire for character, not necessarily talent. You can, if they have the right personality and character, you can train anyone. So definitely don't close that door on a particular candidate. And in doing so, if have a great team around you, everything else will fall in place. But if students are interested in reaching out to me, my email is scooper9@kumc.edu, and would love to have a conversation with you.
I love that. I really love that, Shane. Tim, what are your words of wisdom?
So mine probably come back to check for local associations, right? There's usually contact information in there. More often than not, there's somebody within those associations that can guide you or lead you towards either a job shadow, internships, or just come to meetings and learn about it. I think the other thing that appears to me to be fairly significant right now is getting ourselves involved in this right to repair. I think it's a key in the future. And I think all of us need to be get involved with that.
100%. Yeah, what a hot topic, right? We've had a lot of great insight on HTM Insider from leaders in the industry, but it's still a battle. It hasn't moved a lot. The needle hasn't moved a lot on right to repair.
There's a lot of strong against it, right?
Right, there's a lot of lobbyists, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
and so
sure.
Just like with HTM careers, we've got to be our own lobbyist, right? We've got to push it. So.
Yep. And I say we start wearing the shirt. I'll start making them, getting them sent out.
I love that. That's a great idea.
Yeah. So I really appreciate you guys coming on today. And Tim, I'm sure that you'd be willing to be a resource, if there's anybody in that, area or across the nation, if they just wanted more information, how do they get a hold of you?
Probably the best way is through email, tcortis@kumc.edu, sorry.
Okay.
Or again, through the local association. In our case, it's the HTMA Midwest. There's links in there to what we're doing and also contact information as well.
Perfect. Well, we're coming to the end of our podcast today, and I really appreciate Tim and Shane coming on. And if you want more information or how to model, maybe if you're an HTM leader, how they successfully are bringing students in for that, field trip or that internship over the summer, I know that Tim and Shane would both be willing to talk to you. So again, follow HTM on HTM Insider. On YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple, wherever you listen to your podcast, we're there. Make sure you share your opinions and give us a follow. And we look forward to seeing you on our next episode. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you, Sherelle.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tim and Shane, for a great presentation. If you enjoyed today's episode, you might enjoy our ongoing webinar series, Webinar Wednesday. You can find a calendar of upcoming live webinars, as well as an archive of on-demand webinars at webinarwednesday.live. To obtain your certificate for a 1 CE credit from the ACI, please remember to click the link located below this podcast title to complete today's survey. If you have any questions, you can reach us at webinar@mdpublishing.com.